Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Stephanie Banks is a renowned intuitive channel, mentor, and guide specializing in soul level connections. She communicates with a wide array of beings, including souls currently on Earth, those on the other side, spirit guides, animals, trees, and Gaia herself. Her diverse background encompasses roles as a speech language pathologist, birth doula, lactation consultant, infant massage instructor, and intuitive channel. Stephanie's journey into channeling began when she developed unique methods to connect with her mother's soul during her battle with dementia. As a conscious channel, she not only receives messages but also provides depth and context using humor, love, and compassion to enrich the spiritual experiences of her clients. Stephanie is the author of the best-selling book, Joining Joanie, Staying Connected to Your Loved One Through Dementia and Beyond, and is working on her second book about her spiritual journey. She is also a TEDx speaker, sharing insights into intuitive channeling and encouraging others to explore their intuitive gifts. Wow. And infant massage. I know you do so many amazing things, but the infant massage came to me because I'm a massage therapist also. So I was like, that is so cool. I love
Yeah,
that.
beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show today, Stephanie. I'm excited to speak with you.
Thank you, Gina. I am too.
Yeah, so if you can go ahead and share about your unexpected journey into channeling and how you discovered your ability.
Sure. I'll define channeling because we all have a little bit of a different take on it. But when I talk about channeling, I'm really referring to connecting to divine energy and wisdom. So this isn't something that's unique or exclusive. It's actually our birthright. We are always channeling, and there's many different forms. There's art, music, dance, writing. All of these are different forms of channeling. So for me, I am a specialist in communication. I've been a speech language pathologist for decades. And so I understand the brain and how it works and how communication functions. So when my mother was diagnosed with dementia, I would have thought that I was well prepared to assist her with all things communication. However, because it was my mother and we have a different relationship than I would have with any other client or hospital patient, we were really struggling to understand each other and to maintain our connection and to have a healthy relationship. So I needed to find a way to protect that connection with her and find ways to understand her that would transcend traditional communicative methods like verbal communication. Lucky for me, at that time in my life, I had a very dear friend who was a professional channel. That just meant that she was able to connect to souls who were here on the planet and find out whatever answers to the questions that we had from those souls. And I had a lot of questions to ask my mom's soul. So my friend graciously channeled my mother for me. Now, to clarify, this is while my mom was still living. So I got to ask her things like, what do you need from me? What are our soul agreements? How can I support you better? How am I getting in your way? What is our journey meant to look like? And how can I be more of assistance? And her soul, through my friend, communicated the answers to these questions. And it completely changed my relationship with my mother. It shifted everything. It allowed me to see and understand her at a very deep level, which allowed our relationship to really coalesce and come close together. And now we have the best relationship we've ever had. She's on the other side. But it started there. That was really the shift for me. And when I saw what channeling could do for me and my mom's relationship, I started to wonder, where could I apply it in other relationships in my life? How can I learn to do this for myself? How can I teach others to do it for themselves? And here we are.
Wow, and how amazing. So you are still in communication with your mother to this day.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is beautiful. I wish all of us, because I was just sharing with my listeners and to my guests that I had recently spoken to, that I've lost 5 family members in July. And
Oh,
I just been devastated. I've had to cancel podcasts. I'm just getting over this sickness too. I think everything all at once just hit me hard. But if I can just learn how to then channel and then communicate with them, that'd be awesome. And I do kind of see And I feel it in my heart. So that's why I'm like, okay, this is probably them, coming as forms as butterflies, dragonflies, and wasps. Like I have this black wasp living inside my house for I don't know how long. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill it. It looks too beautiful. It has like these beautiful bluish colors. And I was just hanging around. I'm just like, okay, my cat tried to get it, couldn't get it. And then the kids are like, oh, it's here again. And so I'm like, what if these are them trying to like communicate, hey, I'm here, but yet I can't hear anything yet or anything, but I do see and I sense. So that's where I'm at with that. But that is so awesome that you can just go ahead and communicate with her. It's like they're never gone. They're always with you. Oh,
That's right. And that's beautiful that you're open to that and you're recognizing these animal messengers because that's what they are in insect form, in mammal form, in reptile form. They're messengers for us. And it is a way of connecting to our loved ones on the other side. And I'm so sorry for all of that loss you went through all at once and so recently. I myself just walked my father through his passing just 2 weeks ago.
my
I mean,
condolences.
it's yeah, so we can go through grief, which is the natural human process of having loved someone or something so beautifully, and also maintain our connection to them. And they can come through us in dreams. So pay attention to your dreams. Even if you think you don't remember them, you can request to remember them, and it's a practice that you do. Um, they can come to us in the natural world, as you are describing, with winged creatures and all sorts of other things. My father has been sending lots of feathers for me to find on my walks, which is usually my sign of the presence of love and spirit and divine energy. There's so many ways that they can, I guess, get our attention in this physical 3D realm, but also we can stay in the communication at the soul level with them. And yet, something anybody can learn to do. Most of it is just self-trust.
Absolutely. I always say, trust yourself, trust yourself. You'd be surprised. Because someone mentioned to me that when they're like telling themselves, oh, I should have done that. They never said, oh, I shouldn't have not done that. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to listen to your inner voice, that guidance that's trying to help you navigate this world, because this world can be chaotic at times and we get distracted and in noise, in our head and everything. Now, I was going to ask you, how do you go ahead and distinguish the voice of your intuition from other mental noise or other voices in your mind?
I actually use my heart and my body to distinguish this. So, and because those will never lie, your body will never, ever, 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 ever lie.
Yeah.
Neither will your heart. And so, when we all know what it feels like to doom scroll, right, or to be on social media and really kind of get all involved in the chaotic mess that's there. And that takes usually a space in the body. We can usually feel that. For me, I feel constriction in my heart. For other people, they feel something in their gut space. For others, it might be the shoulders, the back. It just really is unique to the individual. But when I feel tightness or a desire to pull away, or heaviness, that is usually the signal. Well, that's not your inner voice of wisdom speaking. That is actually the voice of the loud, chaotic outer world and how your body is reacting to it. So it will want to clamp up or shut down or kind of pull away. And the inner voice of wisdom, the voice of intuition, is on a subtle level. So the trick really is, how do we attune our energetic presence to a more subtle energetic presence so we can discern things more easily? We can hear, understand, make use and make sense of what's coming through. And that requires a regular practice, whether it's meditation, which I do think it needs to be part of it. Time in nature also needs to be part of it. Nourishing relationships where you're not simply giving an outward focus, but you are receiving a lot of replenishment and joy and love and affirmation. Children can be a beautiful way to bring us into a space of joy, which connects us to the subtle energy of the voice of wisdom. There's anything that you love that's precious to you, that brings you into a joyful state, is good practice to start to align with that subtle voice. And learning what the signals are of your body when something is for you or not for you is also another incredibly useful tool to help.
Yeah, thanks so much for clarifying that. I was actually going to go ahead and ask you about the children because I have little ones. I love them so much and I let them be who they are. Oh, growing up for me, like I was always told not to cry, not to do that, not to do this, to pay attention to this instead of, go into my imaginative world of Gina as a little girl. There were so many restrictions and rules, but I love how I allow my children just to be who they are, and they find so much joy. There's just so much. They behave better, actually, to be honest, and then they're just loving beings. But can you go ahead and explain the impact of communicating with children on a soul level, and how it can transform, relationships with our children?
Yeah. So I think that in our conditioning in this part of society and culture, we have been taught that the parents are the authority and the absolute when it comes to parent-child relationship. When actually, I believe that children are the teachers for us, right? And if we listen, really listen, like deeply listen, deeply pay attention, attune to what we're not just hearing from them verbally, because there's a period of years where they don't have language, verbal language, and we have to really use body language, facial expressions, our knowingness, our connection, our attachment to them to intuit and understand what their needs are and to anticipate and respond to those. So when you're parenting, or when you're an auntie, or if you're a grandparent, or have any interactions with children, I find that their purity will guide us to what we need to know or understand. Listen for their teachings. Our role, instead of being the authority on their lives, is to really keep them safe and move some of the boulders out of their way so that their paths can be more open before them, and they can choose and have agency and understand themselves better. And as they grow and expand, so too do we. And what an honor and pleasure it is to be able to see that, to witness that, and to support them in that. When I channel children for their parents, much of the time, what their souls say is something along the lines of, thank you so much for all that you're doing. And could you please step back a little more, a little more, a little more? Because we do tend to, in our desire to make sure they have the best of everything and that they're always happy, even though that's not possible and not the goal, we tend to overdo. And we overschedule them because we think, oh, it will be enriching and they should be able to compete in the world. There's just so many cultural norms and conditioning that we've been exposed to that some of us just continue on with without questioning it. And if you stop and just really listen to that child and their spirit, they will tell you and show you what it is they need from you. And much of the time, it's for us to back up, give them some space to explore, to be, to express.
Yes, it's funny that you say that because, well, I would say my youngest one, he's 8, is an old soul. I really feel like he's done this many times because he's telling his brother, his 16-year-old brother, what to do all the time. Hey, can you do this for me? And he's even tells me, I gotta tell you this. This is cute. So, my husband and I were working out downstairs, and we were just doing a little exercise. And then I was just very like listening more like than sweaty. I went upstairs and just check on the boys and hey, how are you guys doing? And then the young one's like, you know what? You really need to take a shower. And looked at me. Well, thank you for that. Mommy was planning on it, but thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
He's so funny, but he's definitely done this many times, and it's just the things that he says to me is like he's so wise. I'm like, he even has
Mm-hmm.
white hairs on his head. I'm like, I call them wisdom hairs. And, and I'm like, oh man, his name is Peyton. He's just a little love, but it reminded me of that. Now, for
Yeah.
my sister who doesn't have any children, she has animals.
Mhm, mhm.
Getting to communicate with animals on a soul level. And what have you actually learned from these interactions yourself?
Oh, wow. Well, first I want to track back to your sweet Peyton.
Oh,
What a beautiful relationship that is, and how magnificent that you are already acknowledging him as a wise soul with agency over his domain, whatever that will be. So whether it's the fact that you need to shower or, or him choosing whatever fascinating topic he wants to dive into next, I think that is just it's a beautiful thing. And if we can take that on as like I see how joyful you are when you talk about him and when you share that story. What he said isn't insulting. What he said is honest. And this is what I really want to protect in our kids, because each of us, I believe, is born with an integrity and an honesty and an authenticity. And it is only during, our being subjected to outside influences that we start to layer some things on top of that. If we learn that, like, it's not okay to cry, for example, then we will start to hold emotional energy, and that's very unhealthy. Or it's not okay to love who you love or how you want to love. So all along the way, there are these opportunities to really just be present and in the awe and beauty of what it is to witness a soul, a big soul, in a small body, growing and expanding and learning and unfolding. So that's what I'll say about that. Now, on to animals. Yes, also, I believe animals are pure positive energy. They don't have hang-ups. um, they're here to guide and to love and to support. And they do need us. We need to be advocates for the rights of animals, for the protection of animals, for the proper care and compassion towards animals, because in our culture we have come very, very, very far from that, all in so many different arenas, most specifically in our agriculture and food industry. Horrific situation for animals. So I love channeling animals because most of the time it's companion animals that I'm channeling, so dogs or cats or birds. And the messages are always different because they're unique to the human that I'm channeling for. So it'll be a message directly for them. But in general, they are reminding us that we are actually here to have a lot of fun together. And and we humans have this tendency to take everything so seriously, and animals pick up on our vibration and they pick up on our truth. So we can pretend like all is fine and well, but if we are depressed underneath or we are struggling or something, that animal does sense it, and they will adjust their behaviors oftentimes to move in closer or to provide us with more presence or assurance or reassurance. And so it's just, they are magic. And I've never met an animal that I don't love absolutely and purely. So look at your animals differently, and start to ask through your heart, what do you need right now? How are you doing right now? Instead of thinking it, just tap into the heart energy, because it's pure and it's able to connect more deeply on that level. And your animal can tell you.
wow. So I feel like I communicate with my cat telepathically. And I just look at it, I look at him and I'm just like in my head saying, why did you have to go poo in the kitchen again? And then he knows. Like I just have to like look at him and just
Yeah.
like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And then
They
he
pick
just
up.
then he hides. I'm like, oh. And I
Yeah.
realized this. So my mom had bought us this huge dome cat litter that's self-cleaning. So once the animal exits, it like it turns and then cleans out the poop. Well, he does not like that at all. So he was pooing in the kitchen, close to we have like next to our, on the garage door, there's a little cat entry that you can go in and out of. So we have the cat box in the garage. Well, now I have a cat box in the garage because we had to get rid of that one. And then my husband always says, well, you have to make sure the customer's happy. If he's not happy, he's not going to be going inside there. said, okay, because this thing was like $500 that my mom spent. I'm like, we still have it in there, but he just doesn't use it. We have just the basic cat box, and that's all he wants is just
Yeah.
something simple. And like
Yeah.
I felt that from him, like, hey, just give me something simple. I don't need this fancy machine inside the garage here. That's gonna freak me out every time I go bathroom inside of it.
Understood. We can totally understand that. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, just you just looking at him in a certain way, because we can so much comes through our facial expression, joy, anger, disappointment, beauty, love, generosity. So being aware of what you're emanating, yeah, he's going to respond appropriately and accordingly to that, because we are this connected, all of us, not just human to human, but human to animal, human to every possible life form, plants included.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, you're right about so I have my beautiful plants like behind my computer here, and I hug them. I'm just like, you're so beautiful today. And I don't know, because they sense it, and I feel like because I have so much energy behind, you know, they're feeling my vibration as I'm talking to you, Stephanie. So like they're thriving. My husband said, "Oh, these plants are thriving." I said, "I know, because they're always getting my energy from whenever I'm talking on podcast."
I'm so
They
glad you
sense it.
brought that up. Yes, that's a real thing, Gina. They actually have done research on all kinds of research on plants. And I think one study I read, they put two different plants in a school environment. They had kids in glass containers. They both got the same water, the same sunlight. And the kids came up and were instructed to say positive things to one plant and negative things to another. And you watched as the plant receiving the negative information literally withered. So this is not made up. This is part of science. This is just true. It's just truth. So the more love and energy, appreciation, kindness, and compassion we put out for anything alive, the more thriving everything does.
Now, I want to know why my cat loves to play with one particular plant and tries to get the roots out. I'm like, no, it's him. I think it's this, because when I was planting it, it needs a lot of sunlight. So I'll push it towards like on the floor so where it gets direct sunlight. And somebody had given me these seeds. And so I started planting them and they started blossoming. And then I was like, Zim, be nice to the plant, okay? Don't touch. But then he's like in his rebellious state, wants to like, okay, well, I want to touch it since you're telling me no, is what I'm thinking. So every time I'm like staring, I'm like, what are you doing near that plant? He looks at me. I'm like, don't touch the plant to make sure that plant is okay. But I want to know, why is he always obsessed with that plant? Is it because I gave him restrictions not to mess with it? Because you know what? I actually know why. Okay, so this is the way off topic here. So there was a little worm inside the pot, and I'm like, Sim, get it, get it. I just answered my own
Oh,
question. That is why. Okay, it
yeah.
makes sense. Now he always checks to see if there's a worm inside. Okay, now I know why.
Yeah, and you gave a lot of excitement to that pursuit of his.
Yeah.
So yes, he wants to please you with worm hunting now. So good luck with that one,
Yeah.
Gina.
It just went into my mind right now. I'm like, it just like light bulb moment. It's because you try to get him to get that worm out because you didn't want to touch it, Gina. And now he wants to get the worm out all the time. Okay, Zim, I'll catch you some slack now. Okay. His
Yeah,
name is Zim.
you might consider giving him his own little plant to like,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a great idea. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Oh, that's awesome. So going back to our questions here, during intuitive sessions, how can someone actually discern if they are generally receiving a message or if it's their own imagination?
Oh, so it's all coming through our imagination. So I love this question because we've been taught, again, we've been conditioned to look at our imagination as something that's not real. We'll say like, oh, I'm just making this up, as if that's a reason to like discard what we came up with or what came through. When actually, if you look around any room that you're sitting in, every object in that room was imagined before it came into form. Everything that has ever been created had to be imagined first. Things don't come into form without coming through human imagination. Things that are created by humans, I mean. So where we got so divorced from imagination being like the most spectacular thing ever. I don't know, but I'm bringing us back to it because every time I channel, I am able to channel because I use my imagination. That's where I'm able to see the imagery that comes through. That's where I'm able to understand the big picture and the language and the beings that are involved and the sort of movie, I guess, that I am able to perceive in order to make that understandable and relatable to my client. So I always say, if you receive, some people say, I'm getting a download or a hit on something. If you're receiving that and you say, your next comment to yourself is, I'm probably just making this up, then say, yay, I'm making this up. We're making things up all the time. This conversation between you and I, we're making it up as we go. Your podcast, you're making it up, like all of this. And isn't that the most beautiful thing about being human?
Creators. Yes, we're little creators. And that's what I feel so much joy when I'm doing something that's creative, whether it's drawing, whether it's cooking. Actually, I enjoy cooking a lot. Whether it's doing podcasts, talking to people that I like to talk to. We're creating conversations, we're creating food, we're creating love, and and that's what it's all about, is just creating love. I really
Yes.
believe it's what it comes down to. Everything is love. And that's where I think we're all shifting to, is a place where it's love, not so much this chaos and people hating on people. It's that's so old school to me now. That's when I was like a child. There was like those mean girls, growing up. Now I've seen more women supporting other women in their endeavors and goals or whatever they want to do. At least I am, and at least I see I see women doing that to other people too. So
Yeah.
we're moving into a beautiful era. So I'm excited to have
Yes.
these conversations.
We're imagining a new world, and
Yeah,
that's going to be the one that we create. If we can't imagine it, then we default. And right now, our default setting is pretty rough. So let's imagine the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. That's a quote from Charles Eisenstein. And live into that, create into that, make that what we gift our children with.
absolutely. Now, what advice would you give someone who's actually struggling to recognize their intuition or higher self's voice, I should say?
Mhm. I would normalize it, first of all, because even with as much experience as I have and as yeah, yeah, as talented as I am with using and teaching on the topic of intuition, I still have my moments where I doubt or I question. So that's going to happen. That's just that is the left brain of reasoning. We don't use it for channeling for good
Mhm.
reason because it's logic, stuck in the logic and linear thinking. We use the right hemisphere to receive, to fullness, for intuition. And so when you are struggling with something, just allow that to be for that moment and then come back to it again when you're in a more settled place and available to tune into what is subtle, and just keep restarting. Your intuition doesn't go away. We can learn to bury it and to distract ourselves from it, but it's always going to be present. You can always tap into it and you can build that relationship much stronger.
Absolutely. Now, how has connecting on a soul level helped you overcome communication challenges in your personal and professional life?
There's really nowhere it hasn't. It's made me a better parent. It gives me access to information that my children still ask me, how did you know that? And I will say, I have guides, I have connections. They let me know what I need to know. It's made me a better friend, a better sister, a better daughter. I have journeyed with both of my parents through their lives and through their deaths. And in the last part of their lives, sometimes that's the most intense and the most difficult if there's illness, if there's pain involved. So relying on my intuition has allowed me to know what is the thing that will be most useful, most beneficial, most supportive right now to do or to say or to not do or not say. And then in my professional work as a speech pathologist, I don't practice anymore, but when I was in the hospitals, I used my intuition constantly to understand the energy of a family, or a family member. Maybe I needed to be training and working with family to educate them on their loved one's condition, to allow me to see how much can they absorb right now. How do I need to break this up into other pieces, to tune into when they are in overwhelm or when they are ready to lean in a bit. There's place for intuition absolutely everywhere in all aspects of our lives.
One way that I was able to tap into my intuition was just being out in nature and just having that stillness and quietness and well, just at least the noise of the birds and the wind, and some other animals out there. But it's just so calming. And I remember it was a couple of years back when I was literally almost hiking every other day. I just was in a place in my life where I felt like I needed to be out in nature. And I remember it was so funny. I was walking, and then there's a bunch of cows in my way on my literally blocking me. And I'm like, hi, cow, can you just scoot along that way so I can go over? But no, that cow was just stubborn and just looked at me. And then I was walking by and then it went away.
Aren't
But
they
it's,
beautiful? I
yes, they're
love
so
cows. They're
cute.
so gorgeous and sweet and gentle. Yes, yes. Well, honestly, if I didn't have my garden outside, there aren't many places to hike where I live. It's all very flat. Our biggest hill is our landfill, and I'm not hiking that. Um, but my garden saves me every day. Like I go there in between sessions. I watch the dragonflies and the bees and the butterflies. It's a very pollinator friendly garden. I grow papayas and mangoes and greens, and coconuts are out there. It's everything you can possibly imagine. And to be part of life, living itself so harmoniously and in balance, always centers my heart, always clears out anything that I'm holding that I don't need to be holding on to. I agree with you. The natural world is a tremendous reset.
Yes, and that's where I feel like the closest spiritually to
Yeah.
source. And
Yes.
just like, this is awesome. And I love it. Okay, I need to go hiking today. I think it's a beautiful day. It's still early over here. I'm over in California. I'm not sure where you're located, but it's about almost the afternoon now. So I'm like, oh, what a perfect time to go hiking. Maybe that's what
Oh,
I'll
do
take
a
the
hike
kids.
for me. Yes.
Yes, I will. Now, where can our listeners go ahead and find you on either social media or your website?
Yeah. My website is soulinsight.com. And on social media, I'm Stephanie Intuitive Channel.
Awesome. And Stephanie, do you have any last words or anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I just want to invite everybody to explore that inner voice of wisdom. The more curious energy you bring to it, the more space it has to guide you.
Beautiful. And I will have everything in the show notes. But it's been such a wonderful conversation. I feel already like at peace. And I'm a little bit hyper person, and sometimes I need to ground myself. But I feel like since I've spoken to you, I'm a little bit more grounded now. So thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that. It's a pleasure speaking with you, Gina.
Thank you.